West of What is a round-table conversation inspired by Mother Earth's call for more landwork ceremonies to happen. This is a podcast where spirituality lands into politics, history, culture, and more, because land is where we all meet. We want to know how we can come into greater connection with the land and each other, and how we can all move forward with integrity. We believe the answers and solutions will come from many voices, from the truths that happen inside of our togetherness. Hello and welcome to West of What. Today we have Nikki Antonaccio, the new nutrition psychology coach, recognised as one of the UK's leading trauma-informed women's health coaches. She helps ambitious women to break free from emotional eating, stress and burnout by healing the root causes that keep them stuck. I am very happy to have this amazing woman on the show because I met her at a beautiful event called Soul Speaks. And you know, when you meet somebody and you just, as soon as you start talking, you go deep and you get to the point and it goes magnetic and amazing. And I was like, I can't wait to speak to this woman more. And so I am super excited to see where this conversation takes us. And the intention for today's show is that everybody listening feels the messages, the wisdom, the guidance, not just in their heart, but in their nervous system. Nikki, thank you for coming on to West of What.
Thank you so much for having me. And you're so right. When we met at Soul Speaks, you know, when you've just got one of those other souls that you're like, right, we're going straight there, are we? Cool. Like, loved it.
Straight into a discussion about how the mycelium is the ancestor of our nervous system.
Loved it. You know, you're like, yes, this woman gets it. Like,
and yeah, let's start there because you know, in the descriptions you've sent us about the work that you do, the first thing you kind of say is you refer to the nervous system. So why do you start with the nervous system when you're talking about trauma? And
yeah, it was a bit of a personal journey, really, because for me, it's the bit that I missed a lot along the way. I would say I was very shut off. I was very disconnected from myself for 30 years, probably, to be perfectly honest. And I'd done all this performative stuff. I'd been a contemporary dance performer for 10 years. I'd been a PT, I'd been a nutritionist, I'd done all the degree stuff. I'd done all that external stuff that everyone says to you, oh, this is what makes you good. This is what makes you successful. I was like, why do I still feel like shit? And why am I still binge eating in secret when my job is to teach other people how to look after their health? I'm rocking up at work, coaching and PTing people, and my own mental and physical health's a mess. And it was like this bit that I was like, what is this that I'm missing? And then when I went away and I found out about the nervous system and I learned all about it and I deep dived into trauma and narcissistic abuse and everything else, I was like, holy shit, that's the bit. So for me now, when I see or speak to or meet other people, I'm very much like, if there's all this symptoms, surfacey crap that people are trying to deal with, well, let's go deep straight away, a bit like our conversation. Like, yo, what's your trauma? How's your nervous system? Do you know what I mean? That's why. Yeah, that's where it kind of came from.
I think it's so brave of you to say, actually, because, you know, it's really hard when you're in an industry and you have knowledge and you have important things to share, and yet what I would refer to as your personality self isn't quite able to integrate and embody that knowledge. And so, you know, it's hard to admit when you've been out of integrity and I think actually everybody can admit that they can do their talk easier than they can do their walk. And I agree with you. It's usually because of where their nervous systems are. It's usually, for me, the same thing happened, that when I started to address my nervous system, that's when all of the wisdom and the knowledge and these wonderful things that I had to offer, I was actually able to embody. And my guides go as far as to say that when we talk about the physical ascension and the collective ascension of humanity that we are living through at this time, it isn't the first time physical ascension has been attempted. And in the part, this time it does actually work according to spirit.
That's reassuring.
They say the reason it failed all the other times is because of the nervous system. It's because
mine's just gone.
they literally it was last winter solstice.
Yeah.
The Arcturians and the Syrians just came into this circle that I was holding, and they were like, we have created this technology to help your nervous systems, because every time physical ascension has been attempted, the nervous system, in a way, the ancestral nervous system is programmed to stop you from changing. So because it's programmed to keep you safe as opposed to change. And so the more self-development you do, the more this nervous system tries to stop you, and so the nervous system has to not buckle in terms of ascension.
I was having this chat with one of my clients a couple of days ago. She'd done a big event for herself, for her work, for her business. And she said, why do I have this massive high? And I'm like, oh my God, I can do so much more than I thought. I've got so much more capacity. I've got so much more to give. I feel in alignment. And then 24 hours later, she's like, I feel like in a pit of depression. What's going on? And I was talking to her about this concept then. I was like, it's an upper limit. Your nervous system is trying to pull you back to shit that's kept you safe and that's familiar. Because if you've just opened up and it's completely like, this is new territory, it's freaking scary. And all of a sudden you feel expansive and everything's possible. And there's this element, I said to her, there's then a realization that your whole physical life on this earth, you have been holding yourself back and playing it small. So your nervous system's going, let's go back to that. We know that. And we've got to build that capacity to get beyond that upper limit.
Yeah. And I think on top of that, we also live we're living in a world that doesn't necessarily support the soothing of our nervous system. So on top of the fact that our nervous system doesn't like to change anyway, we're then living in a world that, I was saying before we started recording, like, we just did an all-night ceremony in the mountains in Egypt, which every time I do that ceremony where people take it in turns to watch the fire, I feel my nervous system finally get to rest, because actually for longer than we didn't do it, we used to sleep with somebody watching over us and somebody watching the fire. And that's the moment that your nervous system gets to go, I'm safe.
Yeah.
And instead, the way we sleep in modern times, even the way we sleep, let's ignore the rest of the world, the way we sleep isn't actually very relaxing for our nervous system, sleeping on your own.
No.
Isn't what makes your nervous system go, oh, okay, it's safe for me to grow, it's safe for me to evolve. Most of our modern life is sending a signal to our ancestral nervous system that we are living in unsafe time.
Everything, like the world's got this Western world far too fast. Go settings all the time, too much hustle, too many phones going off, freaking pressure with work, finances. Like you say, this version of what life is so infantile, and it's shit. It's not It's shit. We're not designed to live like this. Like everything to do with our health, our well-being, our soul, everything is designed to be in communities, to be around other people, to have connection, to have support, to have help. Very fortunate that I've got Italian heritage, hence the surname at the beginning. Every single time my husband and I go back to the Italian countryside, we're very fortunate we've got our family home out there and lots of families still there. It is totally different lifestyle. And that's still in this like westernized hemisphere. But we're talking Italian country living, growing your own food. If you want salad, you go pick it from the allotment. If someone had a baby, you've got 10 aunts and uncles helping support and look after each other. You're in a community, in an environment that's conducive to nervous system safety, epigenetic safety, generations of people passing that down and being in this web and community of others that are actually taking care of each other. Here, you're lucky if you say fucking hello to your next door neighbour. It's this mad.
Yeah.
You know, even the way you eat as a community there, it's a massive thing. Like eating is ritualistic, it's ceremonial. You eat together, you communicate, you share. There's religious concepts to it that I'm not necessarily. I don't necessarily. I'm not Catholic. I'm not religious. I believe in spirituality, but I love the concepts of eating together, breaking bread together, like being in a community together, and that element of it's fucking slow out there. You have a donkey outside bringing bread, but I love it. Like I'll come back here and my nervous system's like, whoa, what is this? This is like a cyclone.
And our nervous system doesn't like it fast, you know, like it doesn't. I feel like it can't necessarily process the fast pace of life in Western cities. And then what would you say it does?
For me personally, my nervous system goes fuck off and goes into freeze. Others that I see tend to live very much in like a fight flight response and flit in between functioning freeze, where they look like on the surface they've got all their shit handled, their days are running, their kids are going to school, they're going to their jobs, they're doing the thing, etc., blah 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 blah. But under the surface, they are in turmoil and it's all going on under the surface. They're anxious, stressed, overwhelmed, not sleeping properly. Their libido's shit. They're eating crap, numbing out of alcohol, watching shit Netflix and wondering why. And I'm like, your nervous system's not happy. That's why.
Yeah, there's always a lot of talk about the blue zone and this mysteriousness about how they live these long, healthy lives. And for a long time, people thought it was diet, and diet obviously plays a part because they're eating a natural whole food diet. But, you know, they've come to the conclusion that it's actually because they have such low levels of stress. And spikes in cortisol are a constant killer in today's society because we're constantly in fight or flight mode for all the reasons you actually discussed. And I was speaking about this with a friend the other day. Every time I go to the Mediterranean, just as soon as I get off the aeroplane, I just feel it. I just completely unwind.
Everything drops in, right? Your whole body just goes woof.
Yeah. And it's just this like collective consciousness, and they don't have much money there in terms of the locals, but they're so happy. And it's so important for them just on a Tuesday night, a Wednesday night to go down to the local fountain and hang out. And where I'm from, that's so foreign. On a weeknight, I'm an adult. If people say, do you want to do something? I'm like, I'm an adult.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm busy. Yeah. So it's, and I would love to do that, but we're just so busy here just keeping up with the rat race.
Somebody asked me this a few months ago because we go back quite regularly. We go every August. The whole of Italy takes August off. No one works. We need to do that, yeah. And we go back in February. So we do that like 2 points in the year. Just saying, just get the memo, England. We need to take the whole of August off.
August off! August off!
And I had a friend say to me, would you move full-time back to the village, because you've got the house there in Italy, and run your business from there? Why wouldn't you do that if you've got freedom as such, if you want to call it freedom? And I said,
I don't need it.
You can't pick up this lifestyle, stick it in Italy, and it works. It doesn't work. The speed and pace and beauty of how that feels there is not conducive to a business that I've created and run and built on UK nervous system, if you like. and the hustle culture that goes with it.
Yeah.
Yes, I would love to spend more time in Italy. I kind of don't want to poison that with this shit. That's time away.
I mean, I feel you because I live part-time in Egypt.
Right.
And, I'm like, I have to go back to the UK because I actually sometimes, if I spend too long in Egypt, I just stop caring about work.
Right. Right.
It has a bad effect on my business.
When I'm there, I am so happy. Money doesn't fucking matter. I'll live with the goats. I'll make pizza and I'll be a pizza chef and I don't give a shit. But it's not good for business.
And then I like start to run out of money and I'm like, oh my God, I need to go back to England.
Yes.
And I would like to transcend this, and I feel like I'm working towards transcending it. But it's almost like because we were cooked in England, right? I don't know how to create without a certain amount of cortisol, without a certain amount. And I know you work with people with ADHD. I haven't been diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I have ADHD.
So I definitely have. I've been diagnosed. And just going to say, we're soul sisters. That's all I'm going to say.
ADHD is like a soul star family thing, to be honest with you. And like the reason I think I have ADHD is because like my most productive is a hyper focused state, and it can't. And I wish, because the quality of my life would be so good if I could create a hyper focused state without needing the pressure or the deadline or the external thing.
Yeah.
Because what I can do in that hyper focused state is get
right?
a week's work done in like a morning.
Yeah.
And I'd love to create that much time, but it seems that I can only enter that state if I go into
that kind of
reality that creates the fight or flight in me,
So I was diagnosed with ADHD at uni when I was at dance. So I was a dance uni. I had no idea what it was. It was just, do you want to see if you can get £1,000 and a laptop? I'm like, I'm in. Like, test me, do whatever you need to do, poke me, prod me. So I got diagnosed when I was about 21. I'm 37 now. And I didn't really take any much notice of it or anything to do with neurodivergency till about 5 years ago. I was like, I'm neurodivergent, whatever. Just, cool. It's how my brain works. I'm super creative. I flip from task to task. I can do a month's worth of work in an afternoon and then do nothing all month. Like, cool. And then when I started learning even more about nervous system, limbic system, amygdala, trauma, overdevelopment of certain parts of the brain, I was like, this makes a lot of fucking sense.
I'm sorry, for people that are listening and are like, what's amygdala? Can you just give some definition?
Of course it can. Different areas of your brain. You've got one part of your brain, there's many more than this, just saying, I'm not pretending to be a neuroscientist. Frontal lobes, parts behind this kind of like forehead area of your brain is the area that tends to deal with logic and problem solving, goal setting, all those things. If you're listening and you're somebody that's either running a business or working on themselves, they're the bits you sit down and go, I'm going to do this and this is how I'm going to do it, right? Then you have the mid part of your brain. It's all to do with your emotions. This is where you get all up in your, what you call your limbic system, everything to do with emotional response, everything to do with being good enough, loved, connections, family, relationships. Am I worthy? Do people like me? That's where, if all the blood flows living in that area of your brain, that's going to be where you're very emotionally reactive. Like comparison can pop in and you can start worrying about what everybody else is freaking doing. Maybe you've got patterns in relationships where you always attract dickheads and you wonder why, and you never feel good enough for them. And then you've also got your brain stem, which is the area that's probably the most ancient in how the brain grows and develops from pre-birth, and if we want to get into pre-uterine and all of that loveliness as well. And that's the area to do with literally survival. Like, am I going to die? So if we're then talking about that midbrain functionality and nervous system response, that's where if all the blood flow is pumping into that area, logic has left the building. That's where binge eating can happen. That's where you can numb out with alcohol because you can't deal with the amount of allostatic load, stress, the amount your nervous system's trying to hold with modern life. So if you're there sitting going, hold up, that bit of your brain overdevelops if you are neurodivergent in your formative years between about 2 and 7, because often that's where we have to be super hyper vigilant and check out for possible threats with people's behaviours, their emotions, their facial expressions. Our caregivers don't necessarily feel emotionally attuned to us. So then I was like, oh shit, it's a bit of a superpower. That bit of your brain has overdeveloped to check out for people's emotions. So you might be more empathetic. You feel people's emotions like straight away. You might notice if people text differently. You might recognize when someone's been a bit short and snappy on an email, as per my email. In other words, I'm off. And you also then realise that that bit is also where creativity comes from and hyper focus and flow comes from. But put that in the context of a modern world, we are constantly on the lookout for threats, more than your average person if you're neurodivergent. So your nervous system's getting bang, bang, cortisol, 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 24 fucking 7. I've just gone on a tangent. Does any of that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. And it's worth recognizing that in the West, and I don't just want, I feel like I can speak for the West because I know the West. I'm sure it happens in other parts of the world as well. But like most of us were brought up by highly traumatized people who were in fight or flight response. So we weren't actually given a nervous system alternative to attune to. You know, one of the things that we were doing the ceremony for last night actually was like the receptivity blocks that happen when you're not breastfed properly.
Yeah,
And
that's massive.
This isn't just about being breastfed by the breast, although actually it is very important to be breastfed by the breast. But it's also, sorry, I feel like I need to extend on that. It is very important to receive, you know, my guide's view is that wet nursing is better than formula milk in terms of the development of the healthy energy body and the healthy nerves, the heart, human, you know, obviously some women can't breastfeed, but my guide's viewpoint is that it should be wet nurses, not formula milk. But also they were saying that it's also how present the person breastfeeding is or the woman breastfeeding is. Because if they're not present, what the baby's system, and this is like development, like this is where the only thing you're learning is that your needs will be met. That's all you are learning in that first year, is that what you ask for, you will get back.
Yeah.
And your right to receive is given. And then it's like people wonder why they struggle with manifestation. They wonder why they struggle to get their dreams. And it's because most people have a screwed system. They got taught on this very primordial level. And then of course you've got the next few years, which you just mentioned, which are like where you then test it out.
Yeah, test your boundaries.
Test it out. you know,
even just something that's popped to mind. Our generation, I think we're similar age group. We were taught controlled crying to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, we were literally told.
Awful.
We were literally told to cry it out.
Leave babies to cry and they will sort themselves out. No, they just disconnect because they think no one's fucking coming.
And they think that if they... And then what happens, and this was what I was seeing last night, it's amazing the timing of this, is that so it affects our nervous system, but it also affects like our vocal nervous system. Because, you know, and I think most people can resonate with this. I certainly can. That like, I do a lot of yin, I do a lot of nervous system regulation, I do a lot of stuff because I'm quite naturally traumatized. Or not naturally traumatized, but traumatized in my system. And most of that stuff has really helped. But where I still go into fight or flight or freeze is usually when I have to use my voice in an uncomfortable situation. Is usually when I have to say a truth that I'm not comfortable saying, you know? And what I was seeing last night is when you have this kind of screwed development of expressing yourself and then not having your needs met. And that isn't just the practical needs, that's also asking for love and receiving love.
Yeah.
Or asking for attention and receiving attention, or asking for presence and receiving presence. What happens is you then learn to negotiate. You then learn that the only way you're going to get what you want is to negotiate. And you spend your whole life in this state of like negotiating and kind of exchanging in order to get your needs met, as opposed to just being in your right to receive.
There's a really interesting concept that, was it last September, I went to see Dr. Gabor Mate speak about nervous system development and relationships and whatnot. And he said something that really stuck with me, that's literally to the point you've just made. We have two needs as a developmental child. As human beings, we need our caregivers the longest. We have identity and attachment. And should your attachment be threatened, you will limit and change your identity for that security. So say in a concept with a child, our age group were taught, like, let the baby cry because they'll cry themselves to sleep. So our identity was, I need to receive love and I need to receive reassurance that I am safe. But if we risk attachment pissing our parents off by crying too much, we will limit that identity for attunement and attachment. So we will stop crying to please them. If you think about this in adult relationships, narcissistic relationships, of which I have been in, lots of them, because I have a narcissistic father. If I displeased him with being too big, too loud, too whatever, that would risk my attachment to him as my caregiver. So I would change, I would stop speaking up, I'd be quieter, I'd limit myself, I'd make myself smaller, because you will always put attachment over identity. So you start negotiating and moulding yourself to fit in with attachment. That really landed. I was like, fuck, lots of people are going to be doing this and not even realise.
And you know, I feel that this conversation is going to be landing for lots of people. So what would, for somebody that's like just heard that and been like, oh fuck, what would you suggest? What's the first thing they can do?
First thing is learn about yourself, understand where it comes from. Like for you, this is just how I explored this for myself. That whole understanding that the nervous system dictated a lot of my subconscious behaviours and patterns, that a lot of things like the anxiety that I was struggling with daily, that I felt like I had no boundaries and I really struggled to speak up and say no to certain things. That's not a personality trait. That's a dysregulated nervous system that doesn't feel safe to assert what she wants or needs because of what she's grown up with and what I've got used to accepting. So if there's somebody going, oh God, like I feel like she's just poured into my head and plucked out what's gone on in my life, what do I do with this? Go and find out about the nervous system. Go learn about it. Go find out. For me, understanding the term narcissism slotted everything into place, because I was like, that's that. Understanding and awareness was the thing for me. And then practically, it was about learning to slow the fuck down, which sounds really weird. I am neurodivergent. I'm a very excitable person, if you hadn't gathered from this conversation. And the thought of slowing down enough to feel shit was petrifying. Because I had spent years numbing shit out. From about here down, I felt nothing, and that felt quite safe. Because I'd never been taught to feel emotions or what to do with them other than shut them down. So to then have a space or find people or practitioners or practices that let you start to explore what's going on introspectively inside. What does things feel like? Do you have butterflies when you speak to certain people? Do you feel shaky? Do you get hot? Find the language to understand what is going on, and that gives you a whole nother language of understanding yourself. It gives you another literacy to start learning, right, hang on a minute. If I am feeling like I'm flipping into fight and flight response and I'm feeling shaky, hot and panicky, what do I need to do about that? Do I just need to sit with it and let it happen? Probably. And do I need to feel safe enough to let it wash over me and process? Yeah, probably. But can I also catch when I'm going into overwhelm and know when I need to just fucking stop for 5 minutes and not feel guilty about doing it? Like, they're the things for me. It was the awareness. Like, if someone's just sat there and gone, oh shit, I lived my whole life like that. I used to wake up in panic attacks every morning. I thought it was normal. It's not normal. Anybody listening, you wake up in a panic attack every morning, it's not normal, just saying. Yeah. Somebody else needed to tell me that at some point. I just thought that was part of being an adult. Do you know what I mean? Like, wake up at 6, oh fuck, life.
So you've spoken about more or less a self-assessment there, which makes a lot of sense. But if someone is coming to see you, what process do you use to diagnose the state of their nervous system, and what modalities are you using to get that to where you want it to be? Is it mental well-being? Is it diet? Is it a few things? Is it just going through personal mixture? Yeah.
So there's a mixture. So one, I can't diagnose. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. So I don't diagnose. It's all about awareness and empowering other people to understand what's going on for them. The approach, people tend to come to me when they have a symptom, right? So it is a bit like a doctor, but I'm not for a second suggesting I'm medically trained, because I'm not. Just putting it out there. Somebody will come to me with one of a few symptoms that will start rearing their head. One, lack of weight loss. For women, normally, is they're like, I can't lose weight. I try everything. I eat fuck all. I try and exercise a lot. I don't sleep. I drink too much, and I can't lose weight. Am I broken? What's going on with my hormones? The second thing that people tend to come to me with is a really complicated relationship with food and or alcohol. They're like, I can't stop binge eating in secret and I don't know why I'm doing it. Or I over restrict my food because it's the only thing in my life that feels in control. And then the last thing is either severe anxiety or depression. So they're kind of the three angles that people will say, Nikki, I need your help. I'm running a business. I've got all this stuff on paper and I feel like shit emotionally. At that point, there's a three-pronged approach that I look at. I've called it whole health mastery. So it's mastering your whole self, not just one area. So part of it is empowered nutrition and understanding how to fuel yourself in the right way, the right amounts, what works for you, what works with your system. Another part is around your nervous system and understanding what's going on inside, introspection, reflection, knowing where you are in your nervous system. So understanding where you're sitting on a traffic light of your nervous system. Are you sat in ventral vagal, which would be classified as that area where you feel calm and connected and curious? Do you live most of your life in fight and flight, where you're very emotionally driven, being driven by emotional cravings, food, numbing out, lots of anger, tears, feeling scattered, anxious, can't concentrate? Or do you live most of your days in your life numb? Don't feel anything, can't really feel much, don't really want to eat, have no appetite cues, feel quite numb, depressive, wanting to sleep more? Once somebody understands where they live on that spectrum, more often than not, we can start addressing how to make that nervous system feel more safe and attuned, and either doing some root cause healing and therapy, somatic therapy in particular, and at the same time combining it with their other health habits to support them to hold that. So if they're trying to improve their well-being, well, let's look at you a whole perspective. What's going in, what's going on inside, and then also strength. So what's going on and what you're putting out. Are you building your capacity with things like strength training? And how's that helping your nervous system? Is that then therefore helping your allostatic load? Is it helping you regulate your hormones, your blood sugar, your sleep quality, and trying to bring all three of those little pillars together in one picture? Is that answering your question?
Well, yeah, honestly, that makes complete sense, because there's never really going to be one modality for everyone, and routine, diet, exercise, mental well-being, meditation, just practicing gratitude, all those things can change your frequency and vibration completely. So it does make
For me,
sense.
it's got to be all of it, and that might be a bit of the neurospicy in me. I'm like, I can't do one; it's got to be everything.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Just while we're touching on diet, what's your thoughts on the stomach and the gut microbiome being considered like the second brain, and its impact on that?
That's my thought on it, and I fucking love this book.
Yeah.
There's a huge connection that I see. Oh my God, you've got me on the right soapbox now. Massive connection that I see with the vagus nerve and the impact that your gut has on your mood, your emotions, your mental health, how you perform, how you function. So when I work with somebody, I ask them to do a week of auditing their habits. So whilst I'm very spiritual and very intuitive, I'm also a massive science geek, and I love numbers and stats and data as well. So I'm a bit of a conundrum. I'll gather information on somebody's stats, on their sleep, on their digestive habits, on their hormones, on how they eat, how much they're drinking, everything for like 7 days. Give me all the data, and I'm like a kid at Christmas, because I'm like, yeah, look at all this information. One of the first things I see for most women that I work with is digestion disruption. And as soon as I see it, I'm like, red flag, stress, nervous system's fucked immediately. And they'll say to me, oh, I think I don't get on with gluten. I don't get on with dairy. And I'm like, hold up. Have you been diagnosed with that? Are you self-diagnosing? For a start, is it a sensitivity? Is it an intolerance? Or have you noticed it doesn't agree with you? Because 99, I'm going to say it, and it's probably going to be a bit controversial, 99% of gut problems are a nervous system problem. End of. So when you see someone struggling with constantly, oh, there you go. There's the, I'll get cancelled, don't care. 99% of gut issues and digestive disruption come down to dysregulated emotions that someone doesn't know how to process. There's a reason we say I've got a gut feeling.
Is it because people are not digesting those emotions?
Yeah,
and then
they
it's
don't know how to
manifesting
process
as not being able.
They do not know how to process emotion. They don't know how to keep up with the pressures of modern life. So they swallow it and it comes out somatically somewhere, normally bloating and gut issues. And I can literally pinpoint and go, what happened for 3 days before this?
But okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here a bit, because why then? So obviously people that, my viewpoint is that clearly humans ate gluten loads, and yes, there's celiacs. There's always been celiacs.
Yes.
But for hundreds of years, we basically had a gluten diet, and now apparently everybody can't eat gluten. You could say it's probably to do with some of the way things are being farmed.
Yeah.
But people are noticing that gluten is having an effect, as opposed to just anything they are eating. So, and where I want to go with this is, when we look at the world ceremonially, everything is symbolic. And so, and everything we eat, eating is ritual. So everything we eat is also symbolic. It also represents areas in our life. And so I'm just wondering, why gluten? Like, why is gluten, as if we're looking at it from a symbolic point of view, causing people not to digest? Is it because bread represents safety? It represents abundance? Like, what is it about gluten?
So there's a couple of things here, and I'm not sure I can answer the symbolic, but I can give you the nervous system and the science reason.
Right.
So gluten is a protein chain.
Okay.
So it's a protein chain, right? Protein itself, usually in the body, actually helps the neurotransmitters of the brain send signals of safety and security to the body. So if you're feeling dysregulated and stressed, not that anybody fancies a chicken breast or tofu when they feel like that, it's probably the best thing to eat, because it will regulate your nervous system and chill you out.
Ekbalu will eat him when he's stressed.
Right. So there you go, right? Normally. Now, in the context, again, if we go back to, the processing and the food and the way it's farmed, all of that comes into this. If we want to start getting down the kind of ultra processy thing. Our systems are not designed to process and break down that ultra processed shite, if we want to put it that way, when we're already living in a state of high allostatic load. So your system, if you're living in constant cortisol, slows down and reduces blood flow to your digestive system because it perceives you to be at risk. So what happens if you're going to get chased by a bear? You're either going to send all of your gut is going to fall through and you're going to run and you're going to pass stools very, very loosely, or you're going to get really constipated and blocked up. Most people are the latter. They get very constipated because they're in a freeze situation. They cannot get away from said threat in their life, even if that's 100 emails, not a bear chasing them. So no blood flow goes to that area, or less does, because digestion is a non-necessary process for survival. So then when we're sticking gluten in there, that's quite complex to break down, can't do it. So you end up bloated.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, this is a very interesting conversation, which then goes to dairy and lactose as well. But if you think about it, for hundreds or thousands of years, you were literally eating an organic sourdough yeast. Yeah. And when I have an organic sourdough, I don't really eat bread myself, or I try to avoid it. Not that I feel bad on it. I've just learned about complex carbs, and it doesn't. Yeah. I don't want that for my diet. And my daughter as well, she has eczema. And if she has like a natural sourdough organic, it's a whole different ballgame compared to having like a white roll that's very processed or something like that. Absolutely. Especially in America, if you read some of the ingredients in their bread, folates and whatnot, like their body just cannot process that. And when you come to dairy, and especially milk, you know, we've always had raw, unpasteurized milk. Yeah. And that is amazing for you. But now, by law, in a lot of places, in Australia, it's illegal to have raw milk. I can get it because I get it from a farm. When you pasteurize milk, it actually takes out the lactase. And you need the lactase to fight the negative effects of lactose. So throughout time, we're becoming lactose intolerant because we're actually having dead milk, dead enzymes. Yeah. So when I have raw milk, or anyone that has a sensitivity to dairy, if they have raw dairy or a cheese, like a hard cheese that's unpasteurized, like Parmigiano Reggiano or something like that, it's amazing for them, and they actually don't get the sensitivity to do it. So we're actually getting sensitized to the processing.
It's like you said, it's the enzymes. Every food has a score of a sensitivity score. So like tomato, I'm just using random numbers here, please don't quote me, but tomatoes will have like a 10. Gluten might have a 12 or a 15. Like the amount of people I see have food sensitivity tests, and I'm going to say something that people aren't going to like, they're a load of bullshit. They are a load of bullshit, because every food has a sensitivity score. Every food has a sensitivity score. It's meant to. When you consume food, it has certain enzymes, and it's meant to create a certain inflammatory response in your body. You're not meant to then be like, oh my God, I've got to avoid tomatoes for the rest of my life, because they're high on a sensitivity score. The issue becomes how you respond to them with the whole holistic content of your life. If you're at the point where you've eaten gluten your entire life and all of a sudden you're getting gluten sensitivities, you need to look fucking deeper than whether you need to eat bread or not.
Yeah.
A lot. It's similar to what we were saying, you know, the Italian diet thing. When I'm there, if I have a pizza in Italy, or if I have bread there, no issues whatsoever. If I eat like that here, my skin flares up. I get eczema, I get psoriasis.
Is that because the bread is more poisonous in England, or is that because your nervous system is more regulated, or is it both?
I was going to say 6 to 1.5 and doesn't do the other, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I'll confirm that I feel like I always consider myself very lucky, because I feel like I can eat anything, and it doesn't really affect. Like, I notice when I've eaten bad food, because it doesn't have as much life force in it, but I don't feel poisoned by it. You know, I feel like my body has the system with our bodies are highly advanced to handle toxin and poison, and you know, like we have very advanced systems for essentially walking through jungles and eating berries. You know, and I have always felt that it's partly because I don't have any tension around food. So I have quite a healthy relationship with food. I just like it.
Yeah.
Like,
Not a bad thing.
I don't eat it tense, like, in a lot of people, there's this whole tension around eating that isn't just about whether you like the food anymore. It's also about if the food is going to make you put on weight, if the food has, it becomes this whole other thing.
Yeah.
That then I presume is activating your nervous system more than if you're just like, I like this, I'm going to eat this.
Yeah. Like you're what I class food neutral. You like food, you eat it and it serves you. Like, cool. We want this. This is lush. Like, this is lovely. You're right, though. When food starts taking on a moral value and when you start adding a load of rules to it, often that, again, from what I've seen over years of coaching people, that is usually a symptom of something else. So if you start externalizing all of your stress and control on food and food rules, there's something else going on. Like if you're starting to worry about this might make me gain weight, that might dysregulate my blood sugar levels, this is going to fuck with my hormones, can I eat that, what about sensitivities? Holy shit, you are externalizing all of your stress on the stuff that isn't going to make a big difference. That's like worrying about a speck of oil in this massive bowl of water and fixating on this tiny little thing. When you've got a more neutral relationship with food flexibility, food freedom, you don't stress whether you've had a piece of cake. It's not going to do you any freaking harm. Like,
and actually, you do eat unhealthy things sometimes because it's fun.
Yeah.
But after a few days of being unhealthy, your body's like, no,
I'm done now. Give me a
salad.
I lived for 20 odd years with eating disorders. That's one of the biggest things that I came around to find nervous system healing and trauma healing from, because I went from a dance background, fucking rife with eating disorders and body dysmorphia.
Yeah. I mean, dancing teaches you to, my mum was a dancer and she literally, her dance school were like teaching them how to have an eating disorder.
Literally, they might as well go like this. This is how you have an eating disorder starter pack. Here you go. Like, literally. Do you know what I mean? And then I fell into the world of bodybuilding, which was just even more fucked. Like, that was even more like, let's stand on stage in a sparkly bikini at 7%
disorders with hormones.
Right, and have a load of strangers stand there and go, you look great, carry on. Like, what the fuck? Like, this really was not healthy. And you layer into that the nervous system, the worthiness wounds, inner child trauma, and start going, hang on a minute, I'm seeking validation from external people who mean fuck all to me, that aren't going to impact my life and not the closest people in my circle. I don't have attunement or attachment to, and I never will do. And then you start layering in, mustn't eat carbs, that's bad for you, that means I'm a terrible person. Shouldn't have cheat meals because that means I'm fucking useless. Like, whoa, you start layering all of that on top of it. And I see versions of this with day to day, right? That is extreme. It was bodybuilding, severe eating disorders, lots of trauma that had never been dealt with. I just went further before I went, yo, get the memo, that's not okay, right? I see this with people all the time, disordered patterns around how they have an attachment to food. And they're like rules around it. Like, can't eat after 6 o'clock, that's bad for me. And they start obsessing over things like that instead of going, actually, I should probably get off Netflix and go to bed before midnight. Like, deal with the big things that are actually going to move the needle in making you feel better in your health and your well-being, your spirituality, instead of fixating over whether you should put sweetener in your coffee or not.
I mean, I have a course called Body Love, and in the course looks at your patterns through the rituals of the body, one of which is food. Yeah. It doesn't give any nutritional advice. It tells you to just eat what your body wants to eat. And it is unbelievable to me how many people hear this, whether they're on the course or not, and their first response is, if I let my body choose for me, it would choose unhealthy. Yeah. And for me, I'm like, no, that's your trauma. Yes. Your body is going to keep you alive. Like, your body is not going to choose to kill itself. And I don't understand how we have come so far away from mistrusting it's highlighted to me how much collectively we mistrust our body. You know, if you even just zone out of that and think about that for a minute, we are the living proof that human bodies do not self-destruct. Like human bodies do the opposite. They are always going to go for what is going to keep you alive. Even when you are trying to self-destroy, like even when you are in a self-destructive state and binge eating, or your body is going to respond to that and try and keep you alive by causing you to throw up or by, do you see what I mean? And so it's almost like, how have we become so disconnected that we think our body is just going to eat sugar until we die if we let it?
Like you say, though, that's a fear, though, isn't it? That's a nervous system fear. That's a trauma response. I can't trust myself. You can, but you've got to learn to retrust yourself. Because when you actually listen to your body, it doesn't crave donuts. Might do occasionally, but again, when it's for fun, when it's intentional, and there's no moral value attributed to it, right? But you're not going to just live on freaking donuts. Like, you will get to a point that you're like, yo, I need some water and I need some vegetables and some fibre in my life, It's mad how disconnected we've got. Like this over fixation on external control, or what we think is control. Like, it does not work. I'm living proof of it. You can try and over control every element of your eating habits, your routine, and it backfires because your system goes, fuck that. Don't want to do that all the time. No thanks.
And would you say cortisol is the state of over controlling?
Yes and no. It's going to sound like a weird one. Cortisol gets a bad rap, but it's not a bad hormone. We've just made it the demon at the minute. Cortisol is there to help you survive. This whole nervous system thing again, it's there as a response to help you survive. Cortisol is the thing that happens when you have an infection or an illness as well. Your body floods you with more cortisol to help you fight said illness and cause inflammation. It's cool when it's used and it's in a proportionate manner. The problem is when it is chronically, like you are living your life with the accelerator pedal down and the brake on at the same time. Shit wears out quick. And that's when your body's getting flooded with adrenaline, epinephrine, cortisol, all of those fight-flight hormones at the same time as desperately wanting to stop and get off the wheel. That's where the issue happens, because that's when chronic inflammation, continued stress, gut issues happen, skin problems happen, autoimmune conditions happen, because you can't stop the flow of constant fight and flight response and hormones. Like cortisol gets a really bad rap, but it's meant to be high between 3 and 4 in the morning, because that's what's meant to get you up, to get you away from predators. It's meant to be at its peak between 3 and 4 a.m. But if you already have a natural cortisol peak to wake you up, to get you moving, get you out of your cave, don't get eaten by the bear, and then you add unnecessary stress and allostatic load on top of it, that's where you're waking up at 3 in the morning and can't get back to bed. So then everyone goes, oh, cortisol's bad. Disproportionate cortisol chronically is bad.
Part of the reason that I wanted you to come on this show, because obviously this show is about how we come back into ceremony with the earth. And I have a hippie belief that our nervous system is, like I said at the beginning, the ancestor of our nervous system's ancestor is the mycelium network of the earth. And one of the when I realized this, or when I saw this, I had this kind of download that one of the most important things we can do in terms of creating a better world collectively is tend to our nervous system, because our nervous system is so sensitive. What I was seeing was that the mycelium network of the earth feels everything our nervous system feels. So the mycelium network under London feels, it is being hit with all of that cortisol and all of those other stress hormones and stress vibrations. And that, what I kind of saw was, it's like, if we want something like peace on earth, it's not going to happen unless we stop at the moment, our collective nervous system is sending battle energy into the mycelium network, and it's gonna come out somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's like, it cannot not, because that's almost like what we're vibrating.
What we're giving back. That's what we're receiving and giving back. And it's that symbiotic relationship between the two. There's no coincidence that when you look under like a microscope, it's the same shit, whether it's a leaf or a human's nervous system or the universe. We're all made of the same shit. All of us. So what you're thinking and I'm thinking and you're feeling, it's getting fed directly back into this planet and this place that we live and our home, our environment. There's a concept I use called homeostasis, which is about your internal environment. Mm-hmm. The earth is our collective internal environment. So what we're putting into ourselves is going back into it, and vice versa.
So in regards to homeostasis, what's your thoughts on the endocannabinoid system?
Oh, I love this. It's a really interesting connection now. It's become much more like prevalent recently in the last kind of 5 or 6 years, seeing the benefits of using cannabinoids on our own well-being. Again, I personally love it myself, using cannabinoids like CBDs, all of the stuff, absolutely adore it, because there's so many benefits now to show how it can help us actually get back into a bit more ventral vagal state, which is that calm, clarity, curious. And then if you think about how the hormones respond with that, again, we've just gone through how like that fight and flight response, that allostatic load, the adrenaline, cortisol, epinephrine, and how that is flooding our system from your HPA axis in your brain. So hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis in here secretes all of that through your body. So if we can stop activating that so much and use other things like cannabinoids to help with your endocrine and hormone system, it's helping create a happier hormonal internal environment. Just as a woman, you need homeostasis to do function and do anything. Happy hormonal internal environment.
Why as a woman and not as a man?
More sex hormone dysregulation, particularly through perimenopause with things like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone changes, and the impact that has on all of your other hormones, like your stress hormones, and your response to things like GABA, feeling calm, happy, connected. How many women do you know that have actually got a happy internal environment? I don't know many.
Yeah.
But why do you think that is?
Again, now we're going back to the whole thing with like linking back to the earth and stress, and because perimenopause, again, we live much longer now than we used to, much, much longer than our ancestors. Lots of women didn't get to menopausal age. They died before they got to that age, and years and hundreds of years ago. We're now living much beyond that. But if you look at the stats of perimenopause, it's earlier and earlier and earlier. So it used to be the average was like 47. It's now 42. I'm 37 and I've started early perimenopause now. Right? So you start looking at allostatic load, chronic stress, nervous system dysregulation, trauma, and how that means that shit stops working earlier. But we're living longer. So then we live in a more dysregulated state of lack of homeostasis for longer years.
But are men more able to handle cortisol and the other stress hormones then?
Anatomically, they're designed to.
Because they're designed to go to battle?
Because they're designed to go out and hunt, yeah. So if you think of like, it's another really interesting concept that might move us in a direction, but the women in a tribal setting were designed to stay, our age group were designed to stay back with the village. We were the scouts, we were the protectors, while the men have gone off to fight and hunt and do whatever. So you'd have our elderly, you'd have our children, the elder would be looking after our babies and children, while we're watching and scanning the horizon for threats in case the men aren't back yet. So now we start getting into looking at, why is everybody addicted to their phones? Why do we doom scroll? Because we're looking out for potential threats. And instead of it just being against our own village, we're looking at 5 billion other people on Instagram and TikTok in case they're a potential threat. So us as women, we are designed to look out for threats against our village and protect the village if the men are gone and they are fighting or they're collecting food. So then our system floods adrenaline, epinephrine, looking out for potential threats and issues. And if we're doing that chronically, loads more than we used to, shit wears out quicker.
And obviously, there was an important role. There is an importance in looking out for potential threat. It's not very good for you if you don't look out for it at all. You know, what's coming to me is the ceremony we did last night, where it's a ceremony where you take it in turns to look after the fire.
Yeah.
And so everybody takes an hour slot each. And every time I do this ceremony, it is the most, I do loads of nervous system practices, and there is nothing more pronounced for my nervous system than that feeling of somebody watching the fire. And what is coming to me in this moment as to, because I've never really understood why that has that effect. But as you're speaking and as we're going into this, I'm like, it's because you know that somebody's on lookout. And so your system goes, I don't need to be on lookout. You know, my hour and the other 6 hours are covered by somebody else. And so, because actually we do need somebody to be on lookout. And in some ways, the reason our nervous system is so distressed is because we're not in village anymore.
Right, so we come back to community. When you're in your own household, say it's you, a partner and a child, or perhaps just yourself and your child or whatever, where's your village? Where's your tribe?
Where's the person giving your nervous system
a break? Where's the person when you go to bed is looking over the fire? You are that only person. So you never get to put shit down.
And so I would go as far as to say I don't think there's any way to solve this other than to come back into the way of the village. To be honest with you, I don't think our nervous system.
It's not designed to live this disconnected in little pods in your houses individually on a 2-inch screen. It's just not.
Yeah. I think that feeling you get of nervous system regulation when you're in community, when you're in tribe, when the shift is between you and the responsibility is between you. There is no nervous system practice that I know of that can create that.
No. Again, even further down that same path, again, Dr. Gabor Mate went out to the Amazonian tribal villages. Children don't get put down. They don't get put down. Whether it's their parent or whether it's another tribe member, carrying physical contact, touch, and then also giving the parents time for their nervous system to regulate because they know their child is being looked after by another member of the village. And the children get that physical contact and attunement with multiple caregivers. Their nervous system's cool as cucumber. It feels safe as fuck.
Which comes back to the breastfeeding thing, which is what we were working with in the ceremony last night. Literally, spirit ancestral mothers came in and they were like, we are going to breastfeed you because you guys weren't, like, whether
you didn't get it.
Or not, you weren't breastfed by a nervous system that knew how to actually breastfeed you, because if somebody's totally sleep deprived, they're not going to be able to give you everything you need. And what this ceremony was working on was, so the chakras are where the nerve clusters in the body are. Like the chakras and the nervous system are so interconnected, but we also have a nervous system in our energy body because we have chakras in our energy body. And so one of the places that this particular ceremony was working on in the people that were there was what's called the Gaia portal, which is the chakra on the soles of your feet that connects you to Mother Earth. And what the Spirit was saying is that chakra, which is your chakra of of total receptivity. It's the chakra where you develop your magnetic body, where you just receive, not because of what not because of what you do, but because of your existence, like because you are beloved. This chakra gets developed when you're breastfeeding, and when you're not being breastfed properly, what happens is this chakra, if you imagine it works, the energy of it moves when it's healthy, like the way a baby suckles.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't, what happens is that chakra learns to it becomes compressed. And how that then manifests is a compression of your needs. So how it manifests, or how I was seeing it manifest, is that when you feel a need, this chakra, which is part of your light body nervous system, compresses so you don't feel that need. Because you have learned that need won't be met.
It won't be met. So it depresses it so you don't feel it.
Exactly. And I always think there's a divine timing with this show. And I know that I'm kind of talking from an energy body point of view and stuff like that, but it's what I've been doing all night. And I just wonder if you come across clients that have this thing of, how I would say it manifests in me is like, I'm just so good. If somebody's need, especially if it's emotional, because my parents were quite they were going through quite a lot when I was a baby. If somebody's in an emotional state, I just compress my need. It's not there. It doesn't matter. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, it's self-abandonment.
Yeah.
You abandon your own needs for someone else's. Essentially, it's codependency and people pleasing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And so I'm just wondering, what advice do you have for people that have, what advice do you have for people that recognize this, like, oh, my need, my Gaia portal compresses?
It's a really hard one. I see it in most women, particularly if they're mothers, they will abandon their needs for others. So there is an element of that is, we do, right? When you have children, when you have dependents, you will put their needs at the forefront. Again, we're going back to the whole like epigenetic side of things, like those children need attunement, attention. You will put their needs first. But when it starts becoming to the detriment of yourself, if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't support and feed said baby if you're not sleeping, not eating, not drinking. But I see so many women going through life subconsciously abandoning their needs for everyone else, because what that then ends up happening means that if everybody else feels good, I feel worthy. Trauma response. So you've got to get down to, why do I feel I need external validation to feel good enough? Because that's getting into worthiness wounds. Am I good enough? Am I important? Am I lovable? And if you're not feeling like you are from some previous trauma, whether that's bad things that shouldn't have happened that did, or good things that should have happened that didn't, you've got to get to that root of that inner childhood wound to go, hold up, why am I abandoning my needs to serve everybody else's? It's quite self-serving. I want everyone else to feel good, so I feel safe. So you've got to start looking at, where the frickin' hell's this trauma coming from? And start the root cause healing.
Once you find it, what do you do about it?
Process it. So I'll do somatic therapy, which is essentially, if anybody's not listened before, it's body-based therapy. So instead of just thinking about it and talking about it and doing talk therapy, which I love, like there's a place for it because people need to integrate and make sense of their experiences, but just talking about it ain't going to stop you feeling it. So once you can recognise where you're feeling that in your body, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about introspection, starting to get literate in the language of what your body is saying. If you're like, every time somebody feels upset, I feel the need to go and fix it and it's overwhelming, I can't leave it. Right, what's that feeling? What happens in your body in that moment? I get all hot, I get all like flustered, I feel tingly because I feel I need to go and attend to it straight away. Right, cool. Let's sit with that sensation. Where does it live in your body? What does it feel like? What's the colour of it? How heavy is it? Does it move? Like, you are reprogramming a somatic memory that's not cognitive. Your body has remembered something and you are trying to actually let it process that emotional memory. So if you're like, oh, fucking hell, yeah, that's a really strong sensation in my body and chest, what does that part of you want to say? What's it never had the ability to speak up and ask for? What does it need right now? Can you go back? Can we reparent whatever that is and allow the processing loop to complete so it gets time stamped and doesn't have such a disproportionate response in day to day? The best example I can give is these emotional feelings, sensation memories are like ghosts of the past popping up today. Something that didn't get processed, healed, or dealt with in your history or past is popping up now, and you're feeling a need or a sensation to go and attend to or attune to other people before yourself, because that's what felt safe before. All goes back to having to learn to reconnect with yourself. Because if you're disconnected and don't feel nothing, you can't recognize these things coming up. You can think about them. Why do I have problems saying no to people? Why do I have no boundaries? But that doesn't tell you where that lives in your body and your system. Like, you don't have cognitive memories before 2 years old. You can't pull up pictures before you're 2. They're somatic, they're body memories. There's shit that I've gone through in like past life regressions and trauma that's like pre-birth. It's uterine trauma. What my mother was going through while she was pregnant with me, her feelings, her fears, her worries, they're showing up in my body epigenetically. Probably what my fucking grandmother went through in the war, popping up. Now, it's not mine, but I'm feeling it and I have to deal with it. Otherwise, it's going to keep popping up. I'm going to keep abandoning myself and I'm going to keep squishing and depressing that chakra or that nervous system portal. Is that making sense? Or am I like now talking shit on another planet?
It is making sense. And I feel like anybody that's resonating, it is what is required if we are going to ascend. We can't do things the way the war generation did things. We can't do things the way our survival mode ancestors did things, because the new age isn't about surviving, it's about thriving. And so we have to teach our nervous system. And one of the things that I'm being inspired about actually from this conversation is that we really can't teach it alone. Like, the nervous system is not going to change with you sitting there. You can feel it, you can somatic by yourself. It is not, the nervous system needs village. It needs,
you heal collectively, you heal with others.
Yeah. It can't do it. It can't, this part of your self-development journey cannot be done on your own, because the minute you put yourself on your own,
you're back in hypervigilance.
Your nervous system's going to be in hypervigilance. Yeah.
Yeah, you're back in. I am the one solely responsible for my safety. Fuck no.
You can't, because it and that ancestral, to our ancestors, the worst thing in the world was being without your village.
Being ostracized is the biggest threat to existence.
Most dangerous place to be is without your village. And so if you then try and do this somatic work or this healing work without your village, the nervous system is going to override any of the good work you're doing.
So you can tick all the boxes, and just to say it bluntly, it won't do fuck all. Like, you need to be around other people doing this in a corrective environment that feels safe, with people that can hold your system, the work, like you said, your last night's ceremony, that in a nutshell. Because without doing that in a safe environment, that the intention is correct, and you're around people that genuinely allow your system to settle and feel safe, You try doing that ceremony on your own. You're not going to sleep, are you?
I don't want to sleep in the desert on my own.
Right. It doesn't work, does it?
I'm not being in the mountains of Sinai alone.
Right. It doesn't work, yeah? Let's use that as an analogy.
No. And I love the message that's coming through this podcast, because obviously, depending on how you work, maybe you prefer to work in a group like last night, or work one-on-one like with a coach like yourself. But it's really permitting to me, and hopefully to the listeners, how important getting support for this part of the process is. And that it's going to make a difference. I feel like, as much as I'd love us to keep talking, we're probably coming to an organic end. My nervous system's gone.
Yeah, mine has. I've just gone.
I want to ask, who should we have on this show next?
Ooh, who should we have on this show next? There is a name popping to mind. One of my mentors, somebody I learned a lot of, and again, a very, very knowledgeable woman in nervous system, narcissism, relationships. The lovely Caroline Strawson would be wonderful.
Thank you. Will you put us in touch with her, please?
Of course I will.
Thank you so much. And thank you for coming on the show. One of the things I think is an amazing sign of a really living it, regulated nervous system is when someone can talk really openly and honestly and authentically, without any shame, without any compression, and just be like, I did this. and you know, I feel like that's such an amazing tribute to the work that you've done and the work that you're doing. And I think anybody that gets to work with you is very, very lucky, because you are clearly walking and living your talk. And so thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me and creating a space that is safe enough to do that in as well. So linking it all back to everything we've spoken about today, having a space with others where you can speak that truth and it's totally okay, whatever that is. So thank you guys as well.
And how can people find you and your work? How can they find
I'm
you?
on Instagram most and predominantly. So my handle on Instagram is Nikki Antonaccio, the long Italian name, _ women's health. There is only one of me. If you get my name spelling right, you can't miss me.
We will put it in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the beautiful work you are doing for the collective human mycelium at this time. May the land be with you. If today's episode touched your heart and you want to come into greater relationship with Mother Earth, visit landtantra.com and get involved. Your truth is part of this conversation, and we would love you to reach out on socials and let us know how it landed. And if it really inspired you, we hope you share it with others. Let's add more wow to our world.